따라 앞으로 더 좋은 무대를 보여드리기 위해서 저도 열심히 노력할 테니까요. 저희 투나잇 많이 사랑해 주시고요. 지금도 많은 사랑 주시는 거 너무너무 감사하고요. 저희 더 열심히 하겠습니다.
그렇지만 더 주세요.
지금까지 스피커였습니다.
아, 목이 되게 시끄럽다. 진짜 정신없고. 안녕.
그토록 기다렸던 우리만의 시간. Oh yeah. Tonight, tonight is the night. 꿈처럼 너와 내가 하나 되는 이 밤. Oh yeah. 맘같지 않은 세상에 답답했지. 등 뒤로 느끼는 시선이 차가웠지. 그래 난 안 돼 못해 포기할 때쯤 내 앞에 짠 하고 네가 나타난 거야. 저 멀리 밝게 빛나는 저 별빛 어깨를 두드리는 바람 모두 나를 비춰 다시 꿈을 꾸네. 매일 아침 떠오르는 태양도 서로를 위해 꼭 잡은 손 다시 머리를 펴 나는 노래하네. Tonight we're feeling so high. 저 높이 하늘로 fly fly fly. 끝없이 날아올라. Oh yeah. 한 번 더 high fly. 우리는 죽지 않아. 선반이 못나니 인형처럼 울지 않아. 다 같이 get up stand up 부끄러워. 우린 다 주인공인 집집에 가지마. 저 멀리 밝게 빛나는 저 별빛 어깨를 두드리는 바람 모두 나를 비춰 다시 꿈을 꾸네. 매일 아침 떠오르는 태양도 서로를 위해 꼭 잡은 손 다시 머리를 펴 나는 노래하네. Feels good 눈을 감아 Feels good 뭐가 보여 Feels good 그게 바로 너야 It's alright. Oh, oh. Turn it up. 모두 나를 비춰 다시 꿈을 꾸네. 저 멀리 밝게 빛나는 저 별빛 어깨를 두드리는 바람 모두 나를 비춰 다시 꿈을 꾸네. 매일 아침 떠오르는 태양도 서로를 위해 꼭 잡은 손 다시 머리를 펴 나는 노래하네. 모든 것이 달라졌어 너와 함께하는 이 밤 눈부시게 아름다운 Tonight is the night.
I can't believe it's already time for us to say goodbye. Time flies by when you're having so much fun, right? It feels like it's only been just a few minutes, and I can't believe it's already over. I'll always try to prepare fun-filled shows for you, so please make sure you guys tune into Pops and Soul. Also, don't forget to leave me your comments and feedback on our Twitter, Facebook, and Arirang TV homepage. And the last music video I'll play for today is Teen Top's Rocking, requested by RD CH Daria 34 in Iran via our Arirang TV homepage. So, hope you guys have a lovely day. Goodbye.
정말 괴로워 오늘 그애와 헤어졌단 말야. 이번엔 뭔가 느낌이 달라. 그엔 너무 잘났어 한마디도 안 지내 그 매력에 빠졌어. 난 이렇게 비참해 싸우는 것도 지쳤어. 취했어 모두 말해 어차피 다시는 날 거잖아. 장난 아냐 너와 나
샷 툭하면 배터리 남이야 으르렁거리다가도 본색도 보고 싶다면 전화 걸겠지. 야 어디야. 장난 아니에요. 장난 아니에요. 장난 아니에요. 우리 분위기 정말 장난 아니에요. 장난 아니에요. 장난 아니에요. 장난 아니에요. 우리 분위기 정말 장난 아니에요. 우리 분위기 정말 장난 아니에요. 우리 분위기 정말 장난 아니에요.
The place that attracts global attention with its unlimited growth potential and optimum business environment, Gwangyang Bay Area Free Economic Zone of Korea, is taking off as a new global business hub. Best business hub in Northeast Asia, pleasant living environment, excellent services and incentives. The world-class industrial and logistics area, Gwangyang Bay Area Free Economic Zone.
It's going to be an amazing day with a lot of fun. Follow me, let's do it together. Let's go!
Suncheon Bay Garden Expo 2013. In the garden, you can see different features of different cities in the world. It is the most popular attraction at the expo site. The entire expo grounds embraces those who look down from the top of the hill. The rock garden conveys the powerful force of nature.
They put little stones on one each other and make a wish. So I'm going to make my wish too.
Tulips and beautiful windmills, which represent the New Zealand. Designed by cities, the International Outdoor Garden is a collaborative space.
Korean movie star! Handsome!
The Thai garden creates an exotic atmosphere. Indoor is an exhibition space that showcases gardens using environmentally friendly materials that cannot be installed outdoors. The first art gallery in the world, which is on the water. The table is full of delicious Korean traditional food.
So spicy. It's a real taste of Toledo.
There are a lot of different types of accommodations here in Suncheon. And tonight I'm going to stay over there. It looks nice, cozy and cute. So I'm saying you bye-bye for today and I will see you tomorrow. Good night, everyone!
A city of passionate vigor. A city of brilliant light. A place combining the past, present, and future.
Arirang. Monthly highlights.
Brand new version of After 10.
Arirang's first-rate current affairs talk show, After 10.
First, apparently it was a big success.
Look into the current agenda of Korea with prominent figures from across the field.
Guest here as you keep the tradition of
After 10 returns as a daily program to bring informative and insightful stories to you every day. If you're looking for bold, to-the-point discussions on current affairs, don't miss After 10.
Who is
Next!
YG's new group survival program, Win, Who is Next?
막 이렇게 그 길을 빨아보겠다고.
A battle to become YG's next big bang, the rookie boy group Winner. Follow the fierce survival competition of 11 trainees. YG's new idol group is in the making. Watch the process on Win, Who is Next? A new photo documentary on Korea, In Frame. Rediscover Korea through the lens of esteemed photographers. We start with a 10-part project taken with world-famous Magnum photographers. Korea in the eyes of photographers. Rediscover Korea in the photographic documentary, In Frame. All about the arts of Korea, Arts Avenue. Look at the trends and artistry of Korean culture and art across segments. Arts Avenue is coming back in Season 2 with a new look. The ever-expanding world of Korean arts. See it unfold on Arts Avenue.
Asia's heartbeat, Arirang.
One beautiful day, he came into my heart. Slowly, quietly, they have kept their ways of life through time. And they have given me unforgettable memories to last.
Started out on the letter, but it was all she could take. Conversations she had before, but they're about to break. Somewhere along the line, she got what she wanted.
Dynamic Busan.
In the headlines, Korea's National Assembly launches a 20-day parliamentary audit on ministries and federal organizations, the first inspection of President Park Geun-hye administration and the largest ever in scale. President Park returned home on Sunday after wrapping up her Southeast Asia trip. We'll look back at some of the highlights of her week-long visit. Plus, twin tragedies in India, from a deadly temple stampede to a monster cyclone. We have the latest. Well, these stories and more next on Primetime News. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. It's Monday, October 14th here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I'm Yoo Ji-hye.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thank you so much for joining us.
We begin with the National Assembly's annual audit of government ministries and agencies that kicked off on this Monday. And prior to the business at hand, lawmakers from both parties said they would stop arguing and start focusing on conducting a fair audit.
But will they be able to end the bipartisan bickering that's brought the Assembly to a virtual standstill? Arirang News' Kim Young-gil reports on day one of the parliamentary probe.
The National Assembly launched a 20-day-long parliamentary audit on 628 ministries and other government offices on Monday. On day one, 12 agencies were under fierce scrutiny over issues such as national diplomacy and security. On matters regarding foreign affairs and unification, ruling and opposition lawmakers grilled Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se about how Korea plans to deal with Japan's territorial claims and its renewed push to beef up its defense capabilities.
The foreign ministry is doing all it can strategically to deal with Japan beefing up its military strength and raising its territorial disputes. We are working towards getting support from the international community.
In the audit into the Defense Ministry, lawmakers touched upon the timing of OPCON transfer from Washington to Seoul, initially slated for 2015. Defense Minister Kim Kwan-jin assured lawmakers that Seoul and Washington have agreed to review the possible delay of transfer next year, after reviewing North Korean threats and Seoul's capabilities to deal with them. Politically sensitive issues such as President Park Geun-hye's recent proposal to scale back the national pension program, as well as major projects under former President Lee Myung-bak, such as the 4 major river restoration project and the development of resources overseas, were also put under the spotlight. Meanwhile, prior to the audit, the ruling Saenuri Party took a step toward ending the political deadlock that has plagued the Assembly for months by asking the main opposition Democratic Party to sign a joint declaration that says they'd put arguments aside and focus on improving the livelihoods of the people. The DP declined the proposal. Over the next 20 days, the political analysts expect that the ruling and opposition parties will butt heads over differences in the government inspections. By the time the audit ends on November 2nd, it will have been the largest parliamentary audit in the nation's history. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
And here's the latest on the ongoing investigation into tax evasion allegations surrounding Hyoseong Group, the nation's 26th largest conglomerate.
Prosecutors say they've uncovered new evidence that points to one of the group chairman's right-hand men. And as our Song Ji-sun reports, more key officials will be called in for questioning in the coming days.
Following a raid on Hyoseong Group's headquarters last week, the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office are expected to summon key company officials and the group's owner in the coming days. Korea's tax agency previously filed charges against the group's chairman, Cho Sung-rae, for orchestrating a tax evasion scheme through various illegal means. The family-owned conglomerate allegedly evaded corporate taxes worth 1 trillion won, or about $900 million, for a period of 10 years following the Asian financial crisis in 1997 through accounting fraud. Cho himself is also accused of holding shares under borrowed names to evade transfer and income taxes totaling more than $90 million. Along with computer hard drives and documents, including accounting books, prosecutors say they found a USB drive with evidence of accounting fraud linked to a Hyoseong Group executive identified only by his surname, Ko. Ko, who is suspected of playing a key role in managing the assets of Chairman Cho and his family, is also expected to be summoned for questioning sometime soon. The tax office has already placed travel bans on Cho and Ko, along with Hyoseong Group Vice Chairman Lee Sang-un. Hyoseong Group, the country's 26th largest conglomerate, does business mainly in the fields of energy and heavy industry and owns more than $10 billion in assets. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Korea is making further strides with emerging markets. Over the weekend, Seoul signed a currency swap deal with the UAE and agreed to sign another with Indonesia.
Officials say the deals will help reduce Korea's dependence on the U.S. dollar and facilitate the globalization of the Korean won. Our Hwang Sung-hee has the details.
Korea and Indonesia have agreed to sign a currency swap deal worth $10 billion. The agreement was reached during a meeting in Washington on Saturday local time between Korean Finance Minister Hyun Oh-seok and his Indonesian counterpart. The currency swap line will expire in 3 years, but can be renewed upon agreement. At the same meeting, the head of Korea's central bank, Kim Jung-soo, signed a 3-year currency swap deal worth $5.4 billion with the United Arab Emirates. The agreements can be used in settling payments for their bilateral trade. Indonesia is Korea's 8th largest trading partner, with their trade volume valued at around $30 billion last year. Most of Korea's imports from the Southeast Asian nation are natural resources, such as iron and gas. Around 1/10 of Korea's crude oil imports last year were shipped from the UAE, Korea's 3rd largest trading partner among Middle Eastern countries. Both deals are expected to facilitate Korea's imports of natural resources and also help the globalization of the Korean won. The Korean government wants to use currency swap deals with emerging countries to settle payments for trade in an effort to reduce its dependence on the US dollar. The Korean finance minister hinted of additional agreements to come, saying Seoul is in talks with a few more emerging countries that are rich in resources and have strong trade links with Korea. For emerging countries, a currency swap deal with Korea provides a second line of defense amid an acceleration in the outflow of foreign currency, triggered by growing fears over the U.S. Federal Reserve's plan to taper its massive monetary stimulus program. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye returned home on Sunday after wrapping up her 8-day Southeast Asia trip, during which she attended a series of regional summits and made a state visit to Indonesia.
For more details on her trip, we're joined by our presidential office correspondent, Jin-ju, here in the studio. So, Jin-ju, let's start with President Park Geun-hye's state visit to Indonesia. What were some of the highlights of her stay in Jakarta?
Well, the biggest accomplishment was an agreement on signing a Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or CEPA, by the end of the year. Now, this comes as part of efforts by the two countries to fulfill a goal set last year of reaching $50 billion in bilateral trade by 2015 and $100 billion by the year 2020.
2020년까지 양국의 교역 목표액 1,000억 불을 달성하기 위해 함께 노력해 나가기로 하였습니다.
Although Korea has inked a free trade pact with ASEAN, of which Indonesia is a member, tariffs on Korea's major export items, such as cars or steel, remain high. Korea lags behind Japan in the Indonesian market, with the Japanese government having signed an economic partnership agreement with Indonesia back in 2007. To give you an example, Japanese cars account for nearly 90% of the Indonesian automobile market, while Korean cars only have a 1% share. However, once the CEPA comes into effect, things will definitely change. First of all, tariffs on Korea's major export products, as mentioned earlier, cars and steel, will drop significantly. Indonesia is the 4th largest market in the world with a population of 240 million. If such a market is open to free trade and investment, Korean companies will be able to secure more opportunities to further boost their influence in the Indonesian market and stop Japan having a free rein.
Now, many of you might be wondering about how a CEPA is different from, say, a free trade agreement. Well, the two are similar, but if an FTA focuses more on trade expansion, a CEPA goes further and puts more emphasis on industrial cooperation and investment.
Jin-ju, what other topics related to economic cooperation come up during the meeting?
Well, Chia, Indonesia is currently pushing ahead with a master plan to accelerate economic development, and one of the key strategies is enhancing connectivity between more than 17,000 islands that make up the archipelago. So the country is planning various infrastructure projects, such as building roads and bridges to improve traffic and distribution systems. Major projects underway in Indonesia are the construction of the Sunda Strait Bridge, which is worth $17 billion, and the Soekarno-Hatta International Airport Railway, worth $1 billion. President Park called on the Indonesian government to support Korean companies seeking to take part in these projects. Another important field of cooperation is the defense industry. Indonesia is the biggest export market for Korea's defense industry, taking up 60% of the country's defense exports as of 2011. Korea has currently signed a deal with Indonesia to export 16 supersonic fighter jets, the T-50, and 3 submarines. Selling Korean-made submarines to Indonesia is worth some $1.1 billion. Presidents Park and Yudhoyono promised to continue to closely work together on additional defense projects. In particular, the Korean president emphasized that Korea will focus on localization and cooperating with Indonesia by transferring technology and training local personnel.
교육 훈련을 받고 있는 인도네시아의 젊고 유능한 인재들이 자리를 함께 하고 있는데 이런 노력이야말로 양국의 상생 협력의 대표적인 모델이라고 생각을 합니다.
The two countries also signed 4 MOUs on exclusive industrial zone development, forestry development, contents distribution in the music, film, and performance industries, and financial aid for Korean firms wanting to take part in national projects in Indonesia.
Well, Jinju, ahead of the state visit to Indonesia, President Park also participated in the APEC and ASEAN summits. What were some of the highlights there?
Well, although the multilateral summits themselves were very important, President Park used the opportunity to push ahead with her sales diplomacy in separate bilateral summits with leaders of 8 different countries, including China, Canada, Mexico, and Peru. Through such diplomatic efforts, President Park was able to solidify Korea's strategic relationship with ASEAN member countries, especially at a time when major powers like China, Japan, and the U.S. are jockeying for greater influence.
All right, Jinju, thank you very much for the wrap-up of President Park Geun-hye's Southeast Asia trip.
Before your day ends and another begins, get the latest news live from Seoul.
Residents whose features restrictions is on the rise.
Closing ceremony.
Expert analysis from Asia's heartbeat.
The legislature circumstances.
With a viewpoint only Korea's global network can provide.
The United States, the latest report. Less than
Unrivaled access from a team always on standby.
Meaning came on the news are trying to cover up the South's true intentions. And taking you now to India, where the country was hit with 2 major disasters from a deadly stampede that killed more than 100 people to a powerful cyclone that left thousands homeless over the weekend. Our Connie Kim has the details.
2 disasters killed scores of people over the weekend in India, one a stampede in the central region of the country and the other a cyclone on the east coast. The tragic weekend began on Saturday when Cyclone Pailan slammed into the east coast of India, killing at least 17 people and forcing thousands to flee their homes. Rescue operations are still ongoing in the state of Odisha. The cyclone is the deadliest storm to hit India in over a decade, and it's estimated to have caused billions of dollars worth of damage. The final death toll from the storm is expected to climb, but officials say the nation's evacuation process saved more than 800,000 lives. Just 14 years ago, 10,000 people were killed in Odisha when a cyclone hit the same region. Meanwhile, on Sunday, more than 100 people, mostly women and children, were killed at a Hindu festival in the Madhya Pradesh state of India. The Hindu, the nation's daily newspaper, reported that about 25,000 people were on a bridge when a section of the railing broke following a stampede. Dozens drowned after falling into the waters below, while hundreds on the bridge were injured. Just what caused the stampede remains unknown. Some witnesses say police charged into the crowd, while other reports say the stampede may have been triggered by a rumor that the bridge was about to collapse. Stampedes are a common occurrence in India. Most of them are blamed on poor crowd control techniques and planning by authorities. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
And this year's Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences have been awarded to 3 American professors. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, in its announcement on Monday, said Eugene Fama, Lars Peter Hansen, and Robert J. Schiller were being recognized for laying the foundation for the current understanding of asset prices. All 6 of this year's Nobel Prizes have now been announced.
Korea may be reeling from months of political bickering, but the nation does take pride in the fact that it has risen from the ashes of the Korean War to become a shining example of democracy. The world's most advanced and emerging democracies took note of that accomplishment and chose Korea as the headquarters of the world's first election management body. Our Kim Hyun-ji tells us more.
The world's first election management body will be headquartered in Songdo, Incheon, about an hour west of Seoul. Representatives of election management agencies from more than 100 nations and international organizations gathered in Songdo on Monday to draft a charter for the Association of World Election Bodies, or AWEB. At an inaugural ceremony Monday, the chairman of Korea's National Election Commission, Lee In-bok, said AWEB will serve as a global platform for managing elections.
Each of us, as our respective nation's election management body, have worked individually so far to strengthen electoral democracy. But we have realized that we need a global network for sharing our experiences to better advance our national democracies.
Delegates of both advanced and emerging democracies expressed high expectations for AWEB. The delegation from Egypt, a country currently being led by an interim government, said it hopes to learn from the experiences of others.
Egypt's High Election Commission is preparing for a referendum that will come very soon, and then it will be preparing for parliamentary and presidential elections. So we have very high expectations for AWEB in order to have fair, transparent, and credible elections.
In 2011, Korea first proposed setting up a world election management body and has since formed working groups representing the 6 continents and international organizations. Acknowledging that initiative, the world delegates elected Korea as the association's first chair and the Dominican Republic as vice chair. Korea's hosting of AWEB in Songdo is expected to have various political, diplomatic, and economic benefits. Officials say AWEB in Songdo will bring Korea's brand image up a notch and have the economic inducement effect of some $50 million every year by providing job opportunities and boosting local food, transport, and lodging industries. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News, Incheon.
Prominent leaders from the energy sector have gathered in Korea for the 22nd World Energy Congress to discuss the most pressing energy issues facing the international community. Our Yulian reports from Daegu.
Over 5,000 delegates from more than 100 countries came together at the World Energy Congress 2013. The World Energy Council, which hosts a triennial event, said today's major energy issues represents the energy trilemma and include a depletion of natural resources, environmental pollution, and climate change. The delegates called for a shift toward cleaner, renewable energy and a shift away from those that emit carbon dioxide.
And one of the biggest issues is that coal and gas and fossil fuels will remain one of the most predominant energy fuels going forward. And whilst renewables have made a phenomenal increase in what they're doing, they're still only a small percentage of the wider energy mix.
As a country with limited natural resources, Korea is heavily dependent on imports of fossil fuels and coal, which accounts for around 70% of Korea's total energy mix. But the host city of the WEC, Daegu, also known as Korea's green growth capital, represents hope.
Daegu declared a solar city in 2004. And on the occasion of this 22nd World Energy Congress, Daegu has a very ambitious plan and target to make the renewable energy portion as high as 23% by 2022.
At 6%, Daegu currently has the highest renewable energy proportion of any Korean city. It also houses the country's first solar power plant, which generates 200 kilowatts of electricity and a pioneering R&D facility for recharging hydrogen fuel cell automobiles. But Daegu isn't alone in its green energy push. The Korean government's new energy draft announced on Sunday calls for reduced reliance on nuclear power by nearly half to as low as 22% by 2035, and an increased dependence on renewable energy from 5 to 15%.
As global leaders discuss ways to create a more environmentally friendly and cost-efficient energy system, Korea too is taking its own steps to tap into the future of energy. Yuri-an, Arirang News, Daegu.
It was win or go home for the Tucson Bears and Nexen Heroes on Monday night in Game 5 of their first-round KBO playoff matchup. Only one team could advance to the next round.
Right, so who came out on top? So let's go over to Stephen Che in the Sports Center for the game recap. Stephen.
Hey guys, it's the last game of the series and the last game of the season for either the Bears or Heroes. So who came out on top? Let's go straight to the highlights. It's Tucson's Yoo Hee-kwan on the mound and Nexen's Brandon Knight at Mokdong Stadium. Now we have the Bears lefty Yoo. He was spectacular all throughout and he leaves in the 8th after losing a no-hitter. Now we go on to the 4th. Lee Won-suk for the Bears hits a 3-run homer. It's 3-0. Bears are up. Now we fast forward to the 9th. Nexen, last chance. It's 2 outs. Park Jung-ho to the plate. 3-run shot to center. It's all tied up, and it's extra innings for both teams. Then Tucson's Choi Jun-suk hits a solo shot in the 13th, and the Bears are leading 4-3 in the ongoing game. Moving on to football. After the 2-0 loss to Brazil on Saturday, the men's national team is looking to pick themselves up and go for a much-needed win against Mali on Tuesday. Manager Hong Myung-bo was happy with the performances by the midfield and defense, but not so much the offense. So at practice on Monday, he had them working on finishing in the box, something that hasn't come easy for his squad. Well, we'll see their hard work on display as South Korea goes against Mali at Cheonan Sports Complex at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Now let's finish things off on the hard court. The KBL season kicked off over the weekend with the league's first 2 games, and already we're seeing the standings starting to shape up. On top are Mobis, Dongbu, and KCC with 2 wins apiece, but Mobis stands out between them with potent scoring options as well as a hard-working defense, and you come to expect that with Rod Benson on your team. In the middle of the order with 1 win are KT, LGSK, and Samsung, and how about KT's Anthony Richardson, who's averaged almost 30 points a game, and at the bottom with no wins are KGC, the Orions, and ET Land. Well, this week's action kicks off Tuesday evening with top teams KCC and Mobis going heads-up in Ulsan. Now that does it for me here in the Sports Center. This has been Stephen Che. Check back at midnight for the latest in the world of sports.
Well, unlike today, tomorrow will be cloudy and drizzly here in the nation, leading to a drop in temperatures.
For details, let's go over to our Kim Bo-kyung at the Weather Center. Hello, Bo-kyung. How's tomorrow looking?
Well, Sean and Chi-hye, the mountains of Gangwon province will see about 3 centimeters of snow tomorrow. First, let's take a look at our satellite map. Well, as you can see, we're seeing clear skies throughout the nation, but clouds will move in later at night. Now, tomorrow in the East Coast regions, there may be 60 millimeters of heavy heavy rain accompanied by strong winds. And elsewhere in the nation, it should be less than 5 millimeters of light autumn showers. Now, taking a look at tomorrow's numbers, Seoul should hit 15 degrees. Meanwhile, Gwangju and Busan should make it to 22 and 23 degrees, respectively. Moving on to other regions, Jeju and Dokdo should get up to the low 20s, and rainy Mount Kumgang drops to 8 degrees. Well, that's all for now, and back to you, Sean and Jihae.
Thanks, Pokyung. And that's our broadcast on this Monday night. I'm Yoo Ji-hae in Seoul.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon.
The mini shops being open 24 hours.
The 24-hour service, the places you can get. I like beer, so go and get a beer with my friend in the 24-hour convenience store. That's really good. So I'm happy with that.
I like Dongdaemun Market. Dongdaemun Market was really interesting, but we went there a little too early, so a lot of the stores were still closed.
Well, I've been there before, but it's really nice because there's many shops and different Korean designers, and I like that because I can pick up different clothes which are different and a bit quirky.
Delivery service. Actually, just a week ago, we ordered cheese and a couple of items from the Easy Shop online, and things were delivered to us within 24 hours, like the next day, and it was everything was great.
Public transportation. Public transportation.
Public transport.
Public transportation is absolutely superb. It's probably among the best in the world because the trains are clean, they're cheap, they go everywhere. You've got so many buses and those kind of things. It's simply one of the best transportation systems you find in any city, in any part of the world.
Taxis are convenient because they're easy to find, especially the orange ones, and they're also very cheap.
Convenient Korea.
Convenient Korea.
Convenient Korea.
Convenient Korea.
Convenient Korea for you.
Problems with picture and sound reception lasting for several minutes each day occur every year around the spring and autumn equinoxes. The problems occur when the sun comes into a direct line behind the broadcasting satellite and the ground antenna, and the sun's electromagnetic waves interfere with the signal speed from the satellite. Your understanding is greatly appreciated. Asia's heartbeat, Arirang.
Hello, I'm Sean Lim, and welcome to After 10. President Park Geun-hye has returned from her overseas trip to Southeast Asia, where she attended a series of summits and high-level one-on-one meetings. On tonight's After 10, we meet with an expert to tell us what to expect from the region. President Park Geun-hye's Asia-Pacific sales diplomacy started with her attendance at the APEC summit.
혁신만이 새로운 성장 동력을 끊임없이 창출하며 일자리를 만들어 나갈 수 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 창조 경제에는 성장의 한계가 없고 지속 가능한 성장을 달성할 수 있습니다. 저는 개도국의 창조 경제 수요를 기반으로 혁신과 개발 모델을 전수하고 영내 동반 성장을 함께 실현해 나가기를 기대합니다.
At the